What's up, everyone? Welcome back to yet another episode of Mindcation here on this lovely Thursday, July 9th. Hope everybody had a safe 4th of July weekend. We apologize for the hiatus last week. We just all had some scheduling conflicts, but hey, we finally made it all back, so I'm happy to see everyone here. As you can see, we have a fifth person today. We have our first ever guest, as we promised for last episode. So I'm going to go ahead and let Noah introduce our guest here today. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, first I want to say, Irv, your podcasting voice gets me fired up every time. Go from
it only gets better.
Only
gets better.
And then every time it goes, "What's up, guys?" It's just like you're a YouTuber. I love it. All right, introduction. Okay. So today on the podcast, we have none other than Reid Karel, good buddy of mine from high school. You might know him if you're an avid Husker football fan. He played for the Huskers for the last 5 years. And now he's out in the real world like the rest of us. Well, like just me. You guys are still in school. So. Yep. So been one of my best friends since I moved here, middle of high school, and now we work out together every day. So yeah, pretty comprehensive introduction there for you.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I just the short time that we all spent together playing basketball and everything, I just felt real friendly with you guys, and you just made me feel part of the group. And it's just hopefully you can talk about some fun stuff and get some ideas out there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I forgot. Yeah, Reid knows the group because he played on our very stellar intramural team.
Last game.
We played on the.
Just
easy last game.
We still should have got that win. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, they're lucky we didn't have playoffs. We were an up-and-coming team.
We were about to go on the greatest run I've ever seen.
Would have taken all by surprise.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for joining us today, Reid. We're happy to have you. You're our first ever interview, so we haven't done these before, so we'll see how this goes. But I guess we could just get started. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of what you did in college, your time in Nebraska, how that went, and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So like Noah said, I went to high school with him. I'm born and raised here in Nebraska. We have a acreage by Branch Oak Lake, if anybody knows where that's at. But, it's only about 3 miles west of there. So kind of been out in the country my whole life and just really enjoyed being outdoors and doing all kinds of stuff involving hunting, fishing, and pretty much anything with a ball and running around. But, so I went to Seward with Noah, like I said, and then ended up going to the university and walking on and playing football, and got my degree in management and mathematics, and finished last fall and started my master's. And then right now I'm doing medical sales and kind of doing that all around Nebraska, Lincoln, Kearney, Omaha, kind of wherever surgeries are. But yeah, that's where I'm at to this point.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Reid, for people that don't, I know we were talking about this last week, people that don't really know what medical sales are, you want to give them kind of a rundown of what you do?
Yeah, so pretty much you have to bring all the utensils and prep all the utensils that are going to be used in the surgery, depending on what the operation is. So the day or 2 days before the surgery is scheduled, you have to make sure that you have all the correct things there, and then make sure they go through sterile processing and get ready. And then the day of the surgery, you actually have to be in surgery, show up early. And your job is to show the techs and everybody who is handing the surgeons the tools and utensils. You have to show them how they all work. You have to know exactly what the surgeon's going to need next. And you pretty much have to know the surgery and every single step that he's doing. And then you have to make the other people in the room, pretty much his teammates, aware of what he or she could need next and pretty much the steps. So it's kind of like your little mini manager in surgery, just to make sure that the operations run smooth. And and then you're just responsible for all that. So
has that changed during COVID? during like the pandemic,
Yeah,
or like different?
Yeah, so as soon as COVID hit and it really started ramping up, especially here in the U.S., they pretty much shut down everything. So hospitals weren't even doing surgeries, and everything was pretty much shut down from that standpoint because it pretty much is up to the surgeon's discretion unless it's like a trauma. So they call them elective surgeries when it's at their choice when they want to operate. So that all got shut down like for I think a month and a half maybe, and then it started ramping back up. But then the thing about it is that even though those surgeries got canceled for the time being, it's not like people aren't going to need surgery anymore, you know. So now that it's kind of ramping back up, it's just at an even crazier pace, and everything's just kind of just going now. So we'll see how it all plays. We'll see how it plays too with this big second wave that's hitting. If they decide to shut more things down or what goes on, but yeah, the whole thing's crazy to be honest.
Well, and you primarily do neck and back too, right? So like unless it's trauma, it's primarily elective. So you were pretty much out of work for a little bit.
Yeah, we do head, neck, and spine. So just pretty much all the way from up here all the way down to your lower back. There's hundreds of different procedures and tools and everything that you got to know. But yeah, you're right. No, it's pretty much up to the surgeon's discretion. But now that things have kind of ramped back up, it's just go. So.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Is that something
doing
you always
that
wanted
and
to do?
getting the master's?
Oh, you're getting your master's, huh?
Yep. I actually have to take a final tonight.
Oh, that's fun.
No. Not in July, it's not.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's horrible. I'm over school, I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah.
Fair enough. Well, do you feel pretty lucky the fact that you got to play your last season all in person, nothing crazy? I'm sure those guys going into next season, everything is up in the air, so I'm sure you're probably pretty happy the fact that you actually got to experience your last season.
Yeah, no, it was great, and keeping in touch with the guys and talking to the guys, they said it's just crazy right now, especially on the sense of just the uncertainty because no one knows what's going to happen, especially with how the Ivy League schools just canceled all their fall sports. So it's like, what does that mean for the other conferences, and how is all that going to go? But I think Nebraska's done a pretty good job of keeping everybody quarantined and then tested. And those guys said every time that they've had to leave town when they come back, it's mandatory quarantine. Like they won't even let them leave the house. They'll make sure the food gets there and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting. I probably know just about as much as anybody. Why don't I just text Bill Moose real quick and see what his thoughts are? But no, I really hope that it turns around, and that, because you guys know just as well as I do how much this state is just all about the football team and even the economy's impact based off of how well we do and just all that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be real important for us to have a season. And hopefully we do, but yeah.
Well, and I was listening to the Pat McAfee show earlier today or it might have been yesterday's show, I don't remember, but when the Ivy League announced that I don't know if it was a league commissioner, she basically said that they've been in contact with other conferences, and it's going to just be a conference by conference basis. It doesn't seem like just because the Ivy League has decided not to have fall sports that means everybody's going that direction, and it's going to kind of be case by case basis. So
I think it'll be interesting too then from the standpoint of if one major conference decides to, and then how everyone's talking about the NBA season, how it'll have a little asterisk next to the title and everything. So like, it'd be tough if they just decide that like one conference is completely out, and how that affects the playing field and everything. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how. I think like professional sports have it a little bit easier because they can quarantine athletes a little bit easier. But with colleges, they have to take the student portion of it into consideration, and they're more dictated by what the school does rather than what the business of it does. So we'll have to see what happens with that. So let's talk about your swole sessions with Noah, right? They become pretty legendary within our group session here. And you know what made you take Noah under your wing and help shape him a little bit?
It's such a big project too. You know, he had to come so far.
Man, I don't really know.
So hold on, breaking news right now. The Big Ten moving to conference-only motto for all sports this fall, including football.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
It's only, huh?
Damn.
Oh shit.
Wow. Hey,
That'll be interesting.
we break
I don't know
news
about
on this podcast here.
Breaking news. Holy crap, that is actually.
Because that's what I mean for football. That's 4 games.
3.
Yeah,
3. Yeah, 3. Because so.
Those games are huge.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, no disrespect to out-of-conference teams or anything, but in terms of preparation for your conference play, no matter who you schedule for that, those are huge games. Not only from a learning and chemistry standpoint, but even a acclimation, like for the freshmen and everything, when they can get reps. And honestly, I feel like it's just the same as how all the colleges had to miss spring ball and fall camps all messed up. Like no matter how much players think that those things suck, those are some of the most important parts of the success of the season. So, gosh, I just don't know. But it sucks if they end up having to decide to scrap the whole season because the guys are just missing out on times. Mm-hmm. And I even know like guys who are getting ready for the pros and the combine and everything, it hurt all their chances because then they couldn't even have tryouts in front of teams and they couldn't go have pro days or anything like that. So I know that hurt them as well. So it's kind of just throwing a blunder and everything.
Anyways, you can continue now about
school sesh. I don't know. We just kind of just got in a groove, and every single day we were like, what time are you free to lift? And then we just kept going back and forth between each other's houses, and even when Noah would complain that he was too tired, I still made him.
You're full of shit. Okay, so how about this? After the season, like I gave Reid a week off after the season. I said, "You're gonna start lifting with me now," and he said, "Bro, I'm not lifting." And it took him like 3 weeks to get back into lifting and me pestering him. So don't talk to me about I'm too tired.
I took a month off. I said I had to. After those seasons, your body is just shot. And I was like, Big Lit, if we're gonna jump into it, we gotta jump into it. But I need some time real quick.
And let's think about it. The last 3 months. How many days do you think one of us has missed and the other one wasn't there? Like total?
Maybe only 3 or so. Only when we went on vacation or whatever. When you went, and then when I went down to Texas and stuff. I feel like that's the only time. So I don't know, maybe 5 days total, 6 days.
Yep, and they're good sessions. I think we both have seen good number increases and all that stuff. So
yeah, but this man Lit's moving some weight now. He's throwing it around.
The weird thing is though is that like he sent me all sorts of videos, but no squat videos. So it's just kind of like
I got one of those. Hey, we squatted. Like last month we squatted what 405 for reps.
Last month you squatted? You haven't squatted in a month?
No,
we haven't went like heavy.
Well, because last time we did, no, I only have my plates only go up to I think 310 all the way when we put it on, and then, so Noah brought his plates over too, and everything, and then
hell yeah,
so we got the 405.
Yeah, I think it's just because my bar, it was just like I think it's just the stock bar. It's not like the nice ones or like at the rack or the Olympic ones or anything. So literally the first set we threw the extra plate on. I went under it, and as soon as I went down, came up, and it kind of bounced a little, and then I was like, damn, like I kind of felt like it just on my back. We took all the way off and set it on the catches and rolled it down, and it was just shoo, 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 shoo.
Oh no! Fuck.
Yeah, so Duffalo bar.
Hey.
Homemade, country style.
That's the positive side of it, yeah. That's awesome.
But we do squat, and we haven't gone heavy in a while. We've been doing more reps, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Yeah, I
I'm
think.
gonna do
405
it
for
it kind of sucks.
What do we do?
405 for 5. So suck it, Isaac.
What do we
Hey,
do?
hey, whoa.
What do we do last week? Like just 295 or something for like tens or something like that. Just
Yeah, 10s or 8s, something like that.
but we're not going to be able to catch up to you anytime soon.
Hey, no, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm Isaac. I can deadlift 600 pounds.
I don't see the burn in that. That was pretty impressive.
I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I like having Reid on because then I get compliments instead of great.
Well, okay, so then let's transition. Hey, do you guys remember playing basketball with Isaac? Yeah, that was shitty.
Yeah, okay, wait. Nah, new
I can't
topic.
be on your side for that one. I can't be on your side.
That's one of the forbidden topics. We just gotta.
Well, on that topic, I know Isaac had some questions about like strength and conditioning stuff at Nebraska. If you want to.
Oh, yeah. So, gosh, really, there's like too many, So, so your workouts were pretty much just like one day more of like a powerlifting, like traditional, like you're doing like a bodybuilding accessories with like either squat, bench, or deadlift at the top. And then you have another day or 2 days a week where you're doing a lot more explosive, like cleans, like more calisthenic lifts. Was it kind of like one day or the other, or did you kind of have a mix?
Yeah. Both the staffs were completely different. So
yeah, that was one of my other questions too. So
yeah, when the first, it'll just help explain it the best, I think. But when the first staff was there, it was more not strictly Olympic lifting, but it was more like everything was based around the power clean. Because just the power, just when you're in your stance, powerful position and all that. So everything that we did was surrounded with cleans and RDLs and deadlifts and snatches and shoulder work and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to remember exactly how the splits were, but I mean, it's 4 days a week. It was just a normal 4 days a week. And then when Duval and the new staff got here, it was pretty much just put as much weight on the bar and move it as fast as you can, as hard as you can. But theirs is more like, especially in season, we had morning practices then with Coach Frost now, and we lifted before every practice. Like we would squat. I think it was on our on Mondays when we would have kind of like a half shell. That was like heavy squat day, and that was, even though it was more maintaining, it wasn't just like it wasn't like a baby maintaining. It was like, you're still going to squat 500 pounds. I don't care how sore you are.
Right.
So from that standpoint, and I would say with the metabolic circuits, just the overall way, the intensity with Coach Duval and his staff, it's just, they force you to grow. I'm not speaking illy on the old staff at all, because they had their own mentalities, and obviously I reaped a lot of benefits from their training as well. But just in speaking in the sense of the new what is now, Coach Duval and them, they just put it on you and they force you to adapt. And not even just you in your mind, they just force your body to adapt. And it's pretty much in every lift. Like if you were doing the circuit with 315 and you got your 10 easily, it wouldn't just be, all right, let's add 20 more pounds. They'd just throw another plate on there and be like, do it. And so I mean, those are pretty much the differences. But then with Duval and them, we lifted every single day in the mornings in season, and then in the summers it was pretty much the same split. But then the days that were considered off days weren't really off days, because you just had like 7-on-7s and double field work, and then in terms of just training, you have to incorporate all the running into it too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, what we would usually do is you'd usually lift for an hour and then go do a field workout for an hour right afterwards. I mean, they'd be a little bit longer, obviously, but they do a really good job of tying in exactly what goes with what, and power days and change direction and all that kind of stuff. So
one of my other questions too was when Scott Frost's staff kind of first came, they had that military style based workouts where you guys like went. I don't even remember where you guys went, But
Yeah.
I was just really curious about your opinion about those, and
Yeah,
if you
the
found that
program.
they were effective or not.
Yeah, the program. Yeah, pretty much. For those who don't know a lot about it, they are a group of guys who are retired military, bunch of different branches, and they come in and pretty much teach uh, tactics and processes of team cohesion, and just they want to create the best team leaders and the best teammates. So pretty much it's a program that teaches those who need to be in leadership positions how to lead their teammates better. And then on the same standpoint, it teaches every other guy on the team how they can be a better teammate. And so overall, it wasn't about the physical aspects of it, I don't believe, even though they're more challenging and less challenging to certain people. But it was just more along the lines of teaching people how to gel together when adversity strikes. So I think it's good. It's a good thing, definitely. Is it a training thing that sets people apart from a physical exertion standpoint? I don't know. I don't have any data on that. But from a teaching young men how to form themselves in certain situations, especially those that are more challenging and require a lot of communication, I think they do a good job of at least giving those guys that experience.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So has your mentality in the weight room changed since, I mean, from playing 5 years of Nebraska football, being in the weight room compared to just now? Has why you lift kind of changed, I guess, or what was kind of your mentality, the differences, I guess?
Yeah, I can say that Noah can probably attest to this too. I'd say we're still pretty aggressive at everything, and I know guys take different mindsets to it, but I'm still going to try. I'm not going to obviously kill myself with 600 pounds like Isaac anymore, but I'm not just going to go and bench 135 for 3x10 and be satisfied with that, because it's just personally I wouldn't be satisfied.
Right.
From the same standpoint, I think a lot of it too is centered around where your body's trying to be at. Because when I was playing football, I was just trying to get as big and as fast and move as much weight as I could and eat as much as I could and all that kind of stuff. And so now I feel like it's just a different kind of machine. So Coach Duval and them do a good job of explaining to guys how just how you need to look at your body as a well-tuned vehicle, and you need to know what needs to go into it to create optimal performance, and what you're losing during practice and everything. We would weigh in before and after practice to see how much weight loss we had and all that kind of stuff. But then now I would say I definitely have been able to carry those over, and it's just not to the same extent of I need to be at a certain weight and I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that. It's more of a look good, health, take care of your body. Right. But then from a personal standpoint, it's still I don't want to be just tiny and all that kind of stuff. I still want to. I know the benefits of lifting heavy weights, even though it sucks. Because if that's anything too that I learned from those guys, it's that even when you don't want to lift the heavy weight, you just have to do it, because you're not gonna get strong, or you're not gonna make your body feel better by just taking the weight way down just because you feel like it. So.
Right.
Well, and I would say that's probably one of the reasons why us working out together has worked out well, because I know that's helped me mentality wise. Just kind of at some point you just got to move the weight, kind of just attack it. You can't be scared of it. I don't know, that's helped me. And just in terms of Reid said, he the last 5 years he's been doing all of his weight training for football, whereas in the last 5 years I've just been weight training to weight train. So it's been a good mix of just incorporating some of the stuff that I do, reps and sets wise and exercises wise, versus what Reid has been doing. It's just been a good mix.
And another thing I could comment, it's a little bit of an aside, but I know Noah knows. Do you guys all know Jocko?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Big Jocko guys.
Oh yeah. I was listening to his one when he was talking about General Patton, and Jocko had a lot of different. I don't know if you guys have heard the podcast or not, but Jocko had said that he disagreed with some of the stuff in terms of what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of self
like leadership stuff, right? Yeah.
self-recognition and stuff. He kind of like swayed a little bit in his opinions, but one thing that really struck me out of that was when Patton had a line, and don't quote me on this because I don't know the exact verbiage, but it was pretty much along the lines of you can't be a leader and not have a physical standing. So pretty much I was like, that's not exactly the sense that everybody who's a leader has to be some huge jack guy and all this stuff, or girl, obviously. But I just thought along the lines, when you look at people who are in prominent positions and people who people look up to and people who want to listen to other people, those people are the ones that hold their head high and they take care of themselves, because ultimately, you guys know, your body's a reflection of what you put in and the work you put in. And so I felt like that was a great point that I just wanted to add.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, and here's just to kind of change directions real quick, because Reid and I have had conversations about this a bunch the last couple of weeks, and I know you guys like Brock. You're extra. Are you nutrition and health sciences?
Nutrition, exercise, and health science. I'm same as Isaac.
Okay, yeah, you guys. So, what are your guys' thoughts on intuitive eating versus like dieting? You know, like the new like social media trend of intuitive eating.
I haven't even seen it at all, to be honest.
Are you just talking about just like not really tracking anything, just knowing?
Yeah, knowing your body. Like, you don't need to know how many carbs you're supposed to have, or it's like if you want the piece of cake, you can eat the piece of cake. That that type of stuff.
See, my biggest issue is like, not everyone's gonna like track their macros to a gram extent, because not a lot of people want to be like professional bodybuilders, and by no means you have to do that. But I mean, if you want to reach a certain goal, like if you want to lose 20 to 30 pounds, you just can't, like, because most people aren't intuitive in nutrition, because like they're so much into that and so much research, and people don't understand like how much like nutrition does play a factor on the body, just not from like losing weight wise, but also like your mentality and sleep and just how good you feel about yourself as well. And so like you have to be very smart in a way in nutrition and know how to really, what I'm saying is it's very hard to do intuitive eating if you don't know nutrition that well. If you've never counted your macros, or most people don't even know what macros are.
Right.
And so I think it's super hard to just intuitively eat by just listening to your body, because usually people want to do that if they want like a goal, or if they want to like lose weight and stuff like that, or put on muscle mass. Like, I just can't randomly pick and choose what I want to eat. I kind of have to hit like a certain goal, and like if I want to put on muscle mass, I know I have to hit at least my body weight in protein, especially like if I'm doing like cardio and working out hard, or else I'm just going to start losing weight. And so for just like the common person, like I don't think you should need to count your macros, but you should definitely have somewhat of a meal place. If that kind of, I know I said a lot of words, but
I know what you meant. The thing that just frustrates me about it is like you see like social media influencers, and not everyone's this way, but a lot of times they're like super fit guys or super skinny girls, and they talk about intuitive eating, and it's like, well, you should eat what makes your body feel good, and your body knows what it's supposed to have all this stuff, and it's like, well, how, if you're influencing people, so say someone is overweight and they've never known, they don't have that level of experience. It's like their body, they don't know what it feels like to feel good. So it's like, how do you expect them to know what to eat, and to, they say, well, have a piece of cake if you want it. It's like, well, the problem is that there are people that want that piece of cake every night. It's like they're not the same as you. So I know that's some of the frustrations I get from it, where it's like if you're very serious about being healthier or losing weight, like it's gonna take sacrifice. You obviously have to change something.
You have to be disciplined. And like another thing is like the problem with those social media influencers, like I know certain people who you're talking about. Number one, they're not nutritionists, and number two, usually they're trying to sell like a product or a supplement and be like, take this is a fat burner and stuff like that.
A fizzy tea to start your day.
and it's just like, supplements are great and stuff, but they're supplements. They're not meal replacements or anything like that. You can't
Amen.
you can't take something and then expect massive results, because what's going to happen is you're just going to say, oh, the supplement was bad, and then move on to the next one. Eventually it just starts to get you have to look at your lifestyle. And the issue with intuitive eating is you can because I'll do this when I'm bulking, but I've meal prepped and I've counted my macros, and I can generalize, okay, this is this many grams of protein. I usually know how many calories I've eaten in a day, just because of my past I've counted macros for 2 years plus when I'm cutting and stuff. And so, like you said, for taking someone who's never really been disciplined on themselves, and usually they're overweight because they weren't disciplined on themselves. So those social media influencers telling you to intuitively eat, that one piece of cake can easily turn into 2 slices of cake or 3 slices of cake, because they're just not, they don't have that mindset. And so I think,
how do you intuitively eat if your body, how do you intuitively eat if your body doesn't have that intuition?
Exactly. Exactly. So I don't agree.
Yeah, that was
with
weird.
it.
I've never even heard of that before you said something about it. So.
But you get the general gist of it, right?
Oh yeah, I understand now. Yeah.
And if I could say anything too, just one quick comment, it's that people are trying to make things so complex and so just you got to listen to me, you got to do this, you got to do this. When in reality, and it might be a personal thing, but it's yeah, sometimes do I want that piece of cake? Absolutely. But I know if I eat that cake, I'm going to be wow, you shouldn't have eaten that, number one.
Right.
Number two, you're going to have to work your ass off tomorrow to burn it off. And then number three is just if you got to tell yourself, if that's where you want to be, then you can't be eating that stuff. And that just comes down to discipline.
Yep.
And I mean, in the sense of what Brock was talking about too, it's guys who are, girls too, guys and girls who are, have been around the fluctuation, and they know their body and they know whatever, we talked about this. I've never counted macros in my life, but I know how much I had to eat to put on 40 pounds. I know how much I can feel how many carbs I need to get me through the day. And then I know that you don't eat carbs late at night, and you focus on fruits and vegetables, and your protein intake needs to be way higher than anything else. And that's just from a personal standpoint, but people don't know that stuff. And the biggest problem I have with all of it is that you can't give people a sense of empowerment, and it's just soft when you have people who decide to eat a piece of cake, and then the person that they listen to for nutritional advice is oh, it's okay. It's just a piece of cake. It's no, dude, it's not okay. If you want to get to your goals, this is what you have to do. I don't care if I'm going to be an asshole about it. I'm going to be real with you about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the thing is too, like you said, is you know what, for you, Reid, if you have that piece of cake, it's okay, because I know, and everyone else knows that piece of cake is going to be one piece of cake, and you're not going to have another one tomorrow, and you're going to be in the gym the next day, and you're going to be running around working all day. So it's you having that one piece of cake is not going to totally derail your nutrition or your diet. But if you're someone who is a severe addiction to sugar and hasn't eaten correctly their whole life, it's an addiction is what it is, that literally can derail your entire nutritional experience if that's what happens.
And I'm all for cheat days. I definitely think that especially when we were in the the summer, and it was more of a clean bulk type thing, literally all I would eat was brown rice, variations of chicken breast, and broccoli, green beans, and asparagus. That's all I'd eat every single meal. But then it's yeah, I agree that on a freaking Friday night after you've been grinding all week and it's been 2 weeks of just straight what you're doing, yeah, go smack a couple of cheeseburgers and fries. That's okay. Your body needs that to balance out. But it's where do you want to be at?
Because you learn by doing that all week, you kind of learn that discipline. And because that's the biggest thing is nutrition is such a disciplined thing, just like the gym, willing and wanting to go to the gym every day. For a lot, for us, it's, that's kind of our lifestyle. That's what we love to do and stuff like that. But for other people, they necessarily don't. And so you just sometimes have to force yourself. So you have to force yourself not to eat that piece of cake, or you have to force yourself to eat healthy. And it's not like, oh, I want this, and this social media influencer says I need to treat myself. But it's like, when is it enough? You know what I mean? Like, eventually you're going to have to get down to the just being disciplined.
Yeah. Like Jocko said, discipline equals freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, just like an example, just like, like the last 3 months, like since football's over, like Reid's been having some lower back, nothing crazy, but like your lower back gets fucked up here or there. And it's like, even on those days where you're struggling moving around, like we're still in the gym. And then like yesterday sucked working outside all day, and I was cramping up and tired, and like I still went and lifted, and it was a shitty lift. Like I didn't have going there and throw a ton of weight around or a ton of enthusiasm, but it's just like taking that. It's like, if it's something important to you, have the discipline to do it.
Right.
I think a lot of it comes with like the people that are in that position, right? The influencers or whatever, that movement. They didn't get there by just doing all these quick fixes, right? That they sell now. It's all like they all got there by a lot of different hard work, probably counted their macros, right? So saying to just intuitively eat, it's like, well, you didn't do that. You don't know, you don't actually know if that works or not. Plus, we know just scientifically from taking our anatomies and physiology, it's like your appetite, it can be varied so much by your mood, by so many outside factors, other than just what your body needs in general, that it is such an inadequate way to feed your body, I think, anyways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, Herb, if you've dieted for 10 years or 5 or whatever, and you've gotten to that place where you want to be, and at that point you decide to try intuitive eating, it's like, go ahead, because now you have that base. But
well, then people talk about the extremes too, where there's people who battle with anorexia and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they use that as a kind of like a door opener to be like, yeah, this is what dieting did to my life. I'm like, okay, like if you're dieting, you must not have been dieting the right way. No. Because that just doesn't happen if you're doing it the right way. Like you literally you find out your threshold. Honestly, I've talked to Noah, and I think it's just real simple. Like, you find your threshold, and if you're trying to gain muscle mass, you're trying to gain weight, you go right over the threshold, not exceeding it by a crap ton. If you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to shred down and get cut, you go underneath the threshold, you hit the minimum carbs that you need to, and you focus on your greens. I mean, that's pretty much just simplified.
And well, yeah, and see, the thing is like it gets even more complicated in today's day and age, just because there's so many social media influencers and just the media in general they're just so uninformed, and they're coming out with these hundreds of new diets, and people are looking for that quick fix, but just don't realize that it's not necessarily finding a lifestyle change, number one, and then number two, it's just dieting's difficult, but it's not. People want to try to overcomplicate it. You get your greens, carbs, proteins, and then your fats. And it's, now granted, percentages and stuff like that. And yeah, everyone is different. So like everyone can eat a different amount of calories, but the percentages are still very similar when you're looking at those macros. So. Yeah.
And if I could give one example real quick too, have you guys ever heard of that program that's called like 75 hard or whatever? Anybody?
Something like that, I think.
It's literally like, it's just it's not even a program. It's literally like the most basic like lifestyle like thing. And you guys know the saying, whatever, if you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit. But like pretty much my buddy, you guys probably know Peyton Newell. He was a D lineman on the team or whatever. And he does the 75 hard training thing, whatever. But literally all it is you have to do 2 workouts a day. You have to, one of them has to be outside. You have to read 20, it's just simple, 20 pages of a book, meditate for 10 minutes, and only drink water. That's the only thing you can drink. And he's absolutely addicted to running now. And he was 300 pounds when he played, and I bet he's down to almost 200 now. And it's just, I talk to him on a consistent basis, and it's all about just discipline and simplifying stuff. And the biggest thing I can tell people to do, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm almost just a little thing. The thing you can tell people too is all you have to do is imagine just going to the gym, someone who doesn't go to the gym at all, and then they go to the gym, let's just say 4 times a week for 1 month. They won't even look at themselves as the same person. The gains that they're going to make in that short amount of time are crazy, and it only takes a small amount of time to get hooked on something.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Agreed.
Glad we're all on the same page.
Who disagrees? Call it out.
No arguments
Isaac
today.
Isaac really hasn't said anything. So Isaac's probably like, I actually intuitive eat only. So
No. Because I just didn't know anything about it, so I was just kind of stepping back a little bit.
well, Isaac, let's hear you talk a little bit then, because in the last year we talked about before, you went from the 83 kilogram class to the 93 kilogram class for powerlifting, and to get to the 83, like the week of the competition, you would have to like watch what you were eating. So 93 is a more comfortable. So like, how did you go about changing your nutrition to get to that next weight class?
Yeah, so I mean, literally, I don't track macros or anything like that. It was pretty basic as far as, all right, I just need to eat more. Like I ate like probably 4 times a day, and I know exactly what I ate every day. And I said, all right, that keeps me this weight. I feel healthy. I'm getting all my necessary greens. Like I take a multivitamin, fish oil, all the good shit every day. And so I was feeling good. And then deciding that I wanted to go up because my competition weight felt too low. I had to get pretty low in fat percentage, and I just didn't feel good the day of lifting. And so I kind of talked with my coach a little bit, and he kind of advised just going up the weight class, seeing how it felt for like a local meet. And I just felt like I was kicking ass, and I felt way better going to the day of. I weighed in at like, I think that time I hadn't gained much weight. I think I was like 195 for a 205 max weight. So I had 10 pounds to work with. So I was smashing everything I give my hands on that morning. I drank like all the water even before weighing in. Like it just didn't matter. So I didn't feel like I was super bloated like the day of from like over rehydrating right when I weighed in and stuff, because in USAPL's rules, you only get 2 hours before when you weigh in to when you actually start lifting. And so a lot of people make that crucial mistake of overeating or undereating, you know, and it's just like, it's such a hard line to balance, but it's so much easier now that I'm at that higher weight class. Because right now I'm sitting around like 200 probably. And so I'll have 5 pounds to work with on that meet day, which is kind of what I'm looking for until I kind of outgrow this weight class, which probably shouldn't happen for a few years. So
Crazy.
Yep. But yeah, pretty much as far as like how I climbed up, just consistent eating. Like I just upped my calories. It was hard to eat that much. Overeating is way worse than having to cut, in my opinion. It sucks to have to scroll when you're not hungry, dude. And so, I mean, I did that. A lot of the same things. Reid said that he ate a lot for his clean bulk just every day, just trying to get all those in. But yeah, I'm a big like grains person, so I eat a lot of like Dave's Killer Bread bagels or like muffins or something. Super dang. So, yep, those are what got me up. And chicken pot pies. Chicken pot pies got me like 5 pounds of lean muscle on their own. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much how I got there. And the vice versa, pretty much the exact same thing that Reid, just kind of dipping under that calories that I needed to get to, and then cranking up the cardio just a little bit, but not so much, you know.
They're not about
no cardio.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it, you know. I would like to get into, like, I love longboarding though. Like longboarding, if I could do that for a cardio, or like wakeboarding or something, awesome. Sign me up, dude. But like running, nah.
Hey, wakeboarding might not be that bad a cardio. You think about it. I mean,
I did it the other day and I was fucking gassed, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Bro, you hop on the tube on the lake after like 2 go-arounds, you're ready to tap out. Your forearms are shot.
On fire, yeah, it's true. Hey, it's great when we're working out. Everybody's happy. So yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
Anybody got more? Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, I the 2 major questions I had.
Yeah, if you have any questions about lifting, you can fire away, Isaac.
I mean, I could not stop, but like the two that I was really curious about, I gotta ask.
Yeah, well, seriously, I'm all open book. So if you got anything, I got you. But
That.
Um, so I guess just in terms, so 5 years of doing something every day that like defined your life. What would you say you took away from that? And then on the other side of that, having that not be a part of your life anymore, what's it like adjusting to that?
Yeah, to answer the first part of that, I think the biggest thing that I can take away is doing stuff even when your body and your mind is telling you not to. And even with just being fortunate enough to be around the guys that I was to bring you along, and hopefully I was bringing them too. It's just nobody cares how you feel. Like, especially one of the biggest parts was that everything's filmed. So it's like when you're in the film room, nobody cares if you have a broken ankle. Nobody cares if you didn't get sleep last night. Nobody cares if you messed up and didn't eat what you were supposed to. The end result's the end result, and you can't make excuses for yourself. And even if you, and then on the same standpoint, even if you did do everything right and you didn't get the result you wanted, you just have to look yourself in the mirror and say you're going to keep going after it. So that was the biggest thing I'd say I just took away from all of it. But then the hardest part about kind of going into the real world now is just continuously finding ways to translate everything to that. Just translate everything to real life that you have been doing for the past 5 years. So it's kind of like the real world is nothing like football, but it's everything like football. Because when you're around all those beefcakes every day, it's just a big test. It's just a big testosterone fest, and even if you're a pretty big guy, you'll feel small compared to everybody else because everybody's big. But then it's like you step out into the real world, and it's just kind of like, oh, like everybody. It's just a difference. Like everybody's not like that. But then when you can translate all the things that you learned, not even just mental things, but even how you deal with people and how you look at situations, you're just continuously finding ways to do that in the real world. I just feel like it gives you an edge on how to positively impact people.
Sweet.
Well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So what's the?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. You can finish.
I was just gonna say it. I mean, it definitely sucks. It's definitely different. Like, don't get me wrong. Football it became a part of you and it becomes part of your life. But at some point, it's how are you going to continuously change other people's lives? I mean, it was never about, especially with walking on. It was never about me from the jump. And so, taking that mindset into it, especially from some of the older guys, I just love being able to carry that out in everything that I do, not just in how I can do it, even though it's not football now, even though you wish that stuff would never end. It's how you can bring that to everybody else.
Yeah.
So what's the goal going forward now? Since you're working on your master's, like what are you trying to do now going forward?
Yeah. So I'm doing this sales job and I'm on salary right now, and then hopefully get to commissions here by next year. But then should be finished with my master's next May. So I'll have my MBA, and then I'm honestly not exactly sure what I want to do with the rest of my life. Like a lot of people aren't. I would say that the best part about living and finding the purpose of life is just finding the purpose, kind of like there's never an end. It's always the journey, and the journey is the best part. And if you're always looking for an end goal, then you're never going to find one because everything's always changing and everything's adapting. But I just, from an overall standpoint, I can't say anything specific from a career standpoint or anything like that. But I'd say overall, just doing the most that I can to just impact other people, because people need people. And if there's, and they don't just need people, they need the right people. Because whether you agree with whether people agree with my opinions or not, I just have always felt firmly, especially with Coach Frost saying this, that there's always a right thing and there's a wrong thing. And so whether you disagree with some political view or you disagree with my opinion on someone or something, that doesn't mean that the decisions that you personally make and your actions they shouldn't be a certain way. And I'm not one to judge of anybody else. I'm saying that from a completely looking in the mirror standpoint. But it's just, how are you going to look at yourself and go out there and, as cliche as it is, say, how am I going to change someone else's life today? And it's a big humility thing, and it's not about you, and it's just what you can do to make a difference because people need it in this world.
Yeah, well said.
All right.
For people watching at home and the rest of people on the podcast, if you keep looking at Reid's cutoff and wondering why it looks so immaculate and perfect, because it was my cutoff.
It was.
Made it perfect.
It's all big lit. It's the best cutoff I've ever had. I'll give it to him. I'm not kidding. I stole it. I borrowed it for a lift one time. Never gave it back. Never. The material, and it just has the perfect cut on the wings. And
That's what I'm doing for the rest. That's the rest of my life. I'm gonna make a cutoff business. Just send me t-shirts that you want turned into cutoffs, and I got you. But yeah, I don't have anything else. If you guys have burning questions.
No, I think we appreciate you coming on, being our first ever guest. Taking some time out of your day and spending it with us, bullshitting as usual.
Reid, do you have any burning questions for anyone here?
True.
I would just say not as much questions, but I just want to just say I just feel like this is a great platform, and especially Irv putting this together. And I just really appreciate you guys having me on because, and we haven't talked about too many like touchy issues or anything today, but just having conversations about things, no matter what it is, I just feel like are so important to continuously promote growth in people and just to ensure that everybody's kind of going down the right path and wanting what's best for themselves as well as everybody else. Because ultimately, if you're worrying about other people and what they're going to be able to do, then ultimately you're going to rise just as well as they're rising. Yep. And so if I could just say anything, just thank you guys for doing this, and hopefully this just continues to grow and you guys continue to just do all this kind of stuff. And I just appreciate you guys giving me the chance to talk with you guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Of course.
Awesome. We'll for sure have to have you back on sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime we play fast on Noah.
Well, and Reid doesn't like listening to the rec, but I'm gonna try and get him in there sometime when you guys are working, so you guys can.
It's because I'm old. It's because I'm old now. It's because I'm old. I'm an old guy now. It's like when you're in there and you see that guy who's like 60 and you're like, how's he in
here?
Yeah, you're old. You're the old one. You just turned 23.
Mm-hmm. Hey. Old man. I feel it in my knees.
Both Noah and I are older than you.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I'm the old head in the group.
Yeah, I was going to say the real old one is Noah.
Yeah. But, that beard's a reflection. I think I see some gray. I don't think it's my computer. I think I see some gray.
Yeah, it looks like
Hey, I'm just two-toned. I'm two-toned out here.
All right. Well, we want to thank all the listeners. If you stuck it out this far, we appreciate you as always joining us here on our podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you enjoyed it, if you want to see more of Reid, go ahead and let us know. Like he said, he's willing to come back, so we're more than happy to have him back. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of those, go ahead and hit us a follow on there as well. And then follow us on our social media at Mindcation19 on Instagram, and then the same on Facebook. And go check out Reid as well. If you want to follow his journey too, go ahead. Link will be in the description for sure. But yeah, other than that, anybody got any parting words for the people?
Thank you for listening. Comment on if you guys want us to talk about any topics.
Intuitive eating is stupid.
Yes. The biggest advice I have is if you're going to get information from someone. Okay, I learned this in Nutrition 302. This is the only thing. If you're going to get advice from someone, look up who they are. Look up their majors. Make sure they're actually credible. Don't be listening to social media influencers who just made their name by having big pecs or big butts or whatever.
Big big pets too. Don't worry.
Or abs.
All right. Well, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you guys again next week.